Japan's economy doesn't get much respect, and by that I'm referring to the ways in which we measure economic growth. Now, as many of you probably know, Japan is suffering from a demographic crisis. GDP, as I said before, is a total measure, which means GDP and other aggregate figures like that generally don't make countries like Japan look very good. When we talk about economic growth, a country like Bangladesh will come out as a superstar, whereas other countries like Switzerland or Japan don't look so hot. You formulate a GDP per capita number and you publish that. No, actually, it's very easy. All you have to do is take your GDP figure and divide it by everyone in the population. A simple task of long division. Of course, this begs the question of, if it's so simple and if it's so clear, how come we don't use it? Well, that's a question that really doesn't have a clear answer as far as I know. One thing is true, though. The mass migration countries like the United States or Australia or Canada and even Western Europe come out looking better using the GDP aggregate number than countries like Japan. Now, if you think at this point that I'm starting to sound like some wingnut blogger, I would like to point out that the Economist magazine has in fact covered this very subject. The article is called "A Grossly Distorted Picture." One of the points that the magazine made in the article was that during the years of Japan's so-called lost generation, that Japan's economy, on a per capita basis, was actually growing stronger and steadier than the economy of the United States, which during the same period was supposedly experiencing an economic boom. Now, why is this so significant? Well, because GDP per capita is a pretty good way of measuring a country's standard of living. And the bottom line, isn't that really the most important metric of all? I've lived here in Japan for many years, and I can tell you, as a witness, that the living standards in Japan have markedly increased in the last 10 or 15 years during the time Japan was supposedly in a recession. And on this point, it's very easy to slip into conspiracy theories. But for the record, here's my sort of pseudo-conspiracy theory, and explains why immigration is almost unanimously favored in countries like the United States and Canada. All the policymakers and the politicians, academia, basically the power brokers in those society are pretty much united on the issue that, we need more immigration to keep our economy going. But what does immigration do? Well, one thing it does is it does give the illusion that your economy is doing well, is growing steadily, when in fact that may not be the case. Your population grows, your GDP grows. And nothing gets a politician reelected better than being able to report positive, healthy, strong GDP growth. There you have it, for what it's worth, my personal conspiracy theory.